Last semester, my class discussed the life of Hugh Nibley. This semester, the subject of my lectures and discussions will be Hugh Nibley's views on ancient and modern sacred temple covenants. So let me begin. In our modern world today, good minds, especially the minds of scientists, examine closely the peoples and cultures of our earth and then speculate on their origins and meaning. The gifted Hugh Nibley, with his extraordinarily keen mind, has also examined that same data, but also along with what the prophets and the scriptures and other records have had to say about our world and its peoples. And then he contrasts the activities of these two sets of observers, the prophets and mostly the scientists. The sets of the observers and of the people of the world and its cultures. And he calls these the Sophic, which involves human reason, and the Mantic, which has to do with what the prophets say. The Mantic connects us with the realities of both the heavens and the earth, while the illusions and speculations of the Sophic leave us earthbound. Nibley describes the contrast in volume 3 of his collected works, titled The World and the Prophets. The world being the Sophic, the prophets being the Mantic. These were transcriptions of lectures he delivered over KSL radio spring through fall of 1954, while I was just 19 years old. I remember listening to them with rapt attention. Here are a few words to describe Hugh Nibley's advantages as an observer. Aside from his incredible intellect and his command of a couple of dozen ancient and modern languages, Hugh Nibley had at his disposal the Pearl of Great Price, which contains 3 new revelations from the ancient world. 1, the Book of Moses, which includes 2 chapters on Enoch, and 2, the Book of Abraham. But add to all that a correctly translated Old Testament as expressed in these revelations, as well as in this year's Latter-day Saint Come Follow Me Home Study Guide. And add to all that the flow of ancient documents over the last century and a half. New discoveries and a new assessment of ancient manuscripts already known. In particular, the recently translated documents of the Egyptians. Nibley's main advantage was, as I say again and again, that he, quote, knew what to look for, end of quote, because he was an avid student of the history of ancient and restored Latter-day Saint temple documents, and was himself a frequent patron of the Latter-day Saint temple. Even one of Nibley's University of Chicago professors of the Egyptian language was bold enough to note that what Nibley was writing about Egypt was very similar to what Latter-day Saints believe and practice today in their temples. This professor had bothered to talk to Nibley himself and do a little reading about what the Latter-day Saints believed and did. And very, very few scholars bother to do such talking and reading. I will be sending out weekly summaries of what Nibley had to say about what the prophets, the Egyptians, and other modern scriptures, such as the Book of Mormon, say about the realities of what we experience in this world. According to the Book of Abraham and the Pearl of Great Price, Abraham 1, verses 26 and 27, the Egyptians doggedly preserved and practiced for centuries the ancient sacred temple drama. Though they lacked the priesthood they needed to fully benefit from it. All other Mediterranean and Near Eastern ancient cultures strayed from and thus corrupted those sacred ordinances at a period of time that we call the Great Apostasy, following the death of the last apostle in the early Christian church. And then there followed violence and turmoil in the late Middle Ages. This was after the Council of Nicaea, when the Emperor Constantine declared the Christian church to be the official church of the area. And then you have violence and a lot of other turmoil during the late Middle Ages, from about the 6th century up until about 1000 AD. And then following that, you had what we celebrate as the European Renaissance, beginning in about the 12th century in Italy, or what Christians endorsed in the 15th century, the fallen world of the documents of the Protestant Reformation, or what we now celebrate in the secular views of the modern universities. Thus, Nibley's famous indictment of historians, and especially modern professors, in an opening prayer at a BYU commencement exercise, quote, "We have met here today clothed in the black robes of a false priesthood." What he's saying is that the modern university originated in the 15th century, or about the 15th century, and it was the universities were founded by former Catholic priests who left the Catholic Church and created their own schools. So the subject of my lectures and discussions in this spring's Elder Quest semester will be Hugh Nibley's views on ancient and modern sacred temple covenants. Now, if you wish to receive my weekly handouts this spring semester, just email me your name along with your email address at nortondon17@gmail.com.